Basketball Podcast, episode 216, May 2nd, 2024. The portal closed, I believe, in terms of certain rules and such. Depends on when you put your name in there as to whether you are, in there or not. I'm not going to address the fact that I'm a basketball today.
Ethan's still a little inflamed from his plastic surgery, guys. So
yeah, well,
he's a basketball.
Yeah. The thing is that people need to realize here is that I could have my camera on right now, but the lighting is so bad and I'm just standing here. So it's just the lighting is a ceiling fan light and it's like really, nobody.
Yeah, it looks bad. He showed me, guys. It looks terrible.
Yeah. Bad lighting. We don't need the bad lighting. We don't do that here. So if I'm just a basketball, it's fine. Yeah, plenty to talk about. I think we knew that we were going to have to do something. So, might as well do it now. I mean, there's probably going to be something else within the next 2 weeks if I had to guess. But This is the new world. When we first started this podcast, we were probably doing like 3 or 4 episodes this summer or after the season ended. Now we're probably going to be doing like 10 to 15 at this point.
Yeah.
Not counting all the news stuff because there are a couple other ideas I want to have for podcast episodes and some of that don't involve this year's team. So, but we can get into it now. I feel like we're relax, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey likes the basketball. What's up, Quackle? There's been some portal news. Like I said, it's closed. I think they have 48 hours to announce. So is that official yet? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But first things first, some news broke about the Terrence Shannon case. I believe Ked Prince shared it, and then there's been some other news outlets. It seems as though there's no DNA evidence that matches Terrence Shannon. There seems to be other male DNA found. So it's interesting, but it just kind of sucks for Terrence. I mean, if you look at it and it, turns out how it seems it's going to turn out, missing those 6 games, not being first team All-American is egregious. And now everybody's kind of backpedaling. The Athletic already deleted tweets. People are deleting tweets. It just kind of sucks because I don't know what Illinois is going to do, but Terrence Shannon's probably a guy that should have been in the rafters. And because he wasn't first or second team, I believe that makes him ineligible to be in the rafters. So yeah, it's kind of crazy what's all happening right now.
I wonder about if Whitman makes an exception here. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I think he should. I think we all believe that. I mean, you look at the season that he had. It was probably the best single season from maybe an Illini player ever. I mean, I know there's numbers that may say other guys were, but I mean, just look at what he did in the tournament. Look at what he did throughout the regular season. Look how many points he scored. I mean, hard to argue against it. And it sucks. I mean, I think there's a lot of people on social media that are probably going to end up owing him an apology. I think the way that the media handled this and treated it is very unsurprising given the expectations we have of them these days. I think, guys like Gary Parrish and the people from The Athletic, drew conclusions when they shouldn't have probably and didn't really abide by or think about what the actual laws or the process is in this country. And it's unfortunate, but I think it's kind of to be expected with where we are in social media these days. I think if this turns out the way that it looks like it's going to, I think there needs to be a lot of credit given to the federal judge that allowed him to come back and play.
Sure.
I think I said it multiple times that she knew more about the case than anybody, and she allowed him to come back and play. So I feel like we should take something from that. But yeah, it's disappointing with the way like fans handled this. I guess, it's expected though, because there's a lot of immature people on social media, a lot of immature people rooting for, schools like Purdue and Iowa and Indiana and such. So yeah, sucks. I hope he's still drafted in the first round. I'm getting the sense that he's going to be drafted probably in the 30s. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, time will tell what all comes of it. There was that ruling we talked about on the last episode about now schools cannot suspend players for things like this. So, I mean, I guess that's one positive that came out of all this, but yeah, it sucks for Shannon. So, anything else you want to add? My dogs are being stupid.
No. I'll transition us here.
Go ahead.
Yeah. To the surprise of nobody, Luke Goody pretty quickly committing to Indiana after entering the transfer portal. This feels like it was going to happen. I mean, there's a lot of factors at play here, whether it's Indiana's need for a shooter, whether it's the fact that Goody's from the state of Indiana, whether it's, maybe what the plan for Illinois was this year with Goody, who knows? I mean, I don't think he was going to start here. I think he probably played pretty much the same role as last year, which wasn't a consistent number of minutes. But Luke's a good player, and I wish him well, kind of, except I hate Indiana.
Except that he's going to Indiana. Yeah. Do you think that he's not going to have the same role at Indiana? I mean,
I think it'll be similar. I think Indiana really needs perimeter shooting. I mean, they have some really good players and a lot of talent, but there's a lot of questionable shooting on that perimeter. And I know people are all saying right now, hey, Indiana is going to be, top 10. I just don't know if I can. I don't think we should or can get there based on what we've seen from Woodson teams on the floor. Defensively, I think there's a lot of buy-in. There always is there, and they'll be fine there. But can they figure out the offense? Like, you already have, Ballo coming in, maybe slog some things down a little bit. They have talented backcourt. I think Carlisle is going to be really good for them. Miles Rice is also a good player. I think he'll get a lot of assists. I think there's a lot of good pieces there, and I think Indiana should. There's really no excuse for them not to be like a top 3 Big Ten team this season with all the pieces they've added. But, I'd find it hard to trust Woodson to be able to put it all together on the floor and figure it out, especially with the way that offense was running last year. They're going to have to change some things up because Ballo's really good, but Indiana at their best under Woodson had Trace Jackson Davis, who's a much, much better player, in my opinion, than Ballo.
Yeah. Goody talked a little bit about what Woodson, planned to do with him, kind of run some plays for him, run him off screens, get him open shots. So, I mean, it's great for him. He gets to go back home. It seems like if Indiana would have offered him out of high school, he probably would have stayed at Indiana. But his post with him in a baby outfit with the Indiana hat, and they grew up Hoosier fans. So I think this is great for Luke. Indiana fans seem to think that he's going to be the backup to Renew, which is absolutely insane. But hopefully they work him in to, get him his shots, and he can show how good he is. Anyways.
They, from a wing perspective, they have multiple who are definitely better than him.
Yeah, Indiana seems to think that they got the next coming of like Cam Spencer, though.
No, yeah, definitely not.
Their fan base. That's what it looked like on Twitter. So,
I mean, you got to remember that, Mackenzie Mbako's back. He's going to start. He's, going to play like the 3. Bryson Tucker, the freshman coming in, 6'6", 5-star freshman. I think he's going to be really, really good. There's a lot of good word out there on him, so he's going to play. And then Goody's kind of like that third. I would say Goody is kind of like the 4th forward on this team. If you look at the positionally, like you have Renault, obviously it's like a power forward. Mbako and Tucker are kind of like 3s, and then Goody's there. Goody will play he'll probably play like 14 minutes per game, maybe 15. I don't think he's going to play a crazy amount. I'll be curious to see the defense that we see from him when he's there, because obviously defensively it was never an effort issue here. It was more so a matchup issue. So I'll be curious to see how they use him there. But it's a good roster, definitely, and it sucks because obviously we don't like Indiana, and the fact that a player is leaving Illinois to go to Indiana is extremely annoying. And I think that people need to understand that where we'd be coming from on this. I think it's I think it sucks, but he's not going to Indiana to be a superstar. He's going to Indiana to play like the same role
piece, yeah,
and just be on a different team. And he already graduated, so it shouldn't be that big of a surprise, that this happened.
Yep. So, Moretti has entered the portal. This apparently sent Illini Twitter into a frenzy about how Brad can't keep people, and we only have 2 people returning from an Elite 8 team, which to that I say, pardon my French, and I don't do this often, shut the fuck up. All right? Gosh.
Look at the tweet I sent out. I mean, it did numbers. People need to understand what went down here. And the expectation was probably what? 5 guys returning was probably what we expected.
Yeah. Maybe.
And it's 2.
And
I think Rogers, DGL, Moretti, Hansberry, Sincere, I think were the 5 that you could say, yeah, I expected him to return.
Right. And Sincere, I mean, we've talked about it plenty. Sincere and Amani going to West Virginia to be with Chester. It sounds like they're going to play backup roles there.
That shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
Yeah, apparently it's a surprise to somebody's mom, but
yeah, which that's just ridiculous. Like if you, God, it's just like I'm not a parent, and it probably never will be. Maybe you never know. There's a lot of time.
There's time left.
But like, it just I would hate to have my parents be involved on Twitter, like speaking for me or something. Like it's just like, first of all, Amani, I'll name names. I mean, he wasn't a 5-star coming in. He didn't have that, hey, he's going to play a lot. And like it's like development doesn't matter anymore to some of these.
And he was like, was he not injured for some of the season? I mean, I understand that, Brad played him some, and like when he played, he showed good minutes. But I don't know what Illinois fans want Brad to do. Do they want him to win games, or do they want him to make sure that he keeps a team around? Like you're not gonna win games and make everybody happy. I want to win games, and I don't care how Brad does it. So I'm tired of this. Oh, we're losing everybody. My dad keeps saying how he has to buy a program next year to remember who's playing. Like this team was going to have turnover regardless. There were, Gary A, who's coming back according to Sean, Harmon, TSJ, Coleman. We'll talk about here shortly.
Damask.
I mean, this team was going to have turnover, and it's not like we lost the 5 guys that started or something to the portal. That's not what happened. And this is the time we're in. If you're not getting minutes, you're going to go out and see what's going on. I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, I'll read the tweet that I had just because maybe some people didn't see it. It had 76,000 views. It was liked by the great Illini, Stephen Bardo. I've never said anything bad about. There's good reason for why these guys left. Hawkins and Shannon, draft. Damask, Harmon, Guerrier, out of eligibility.
Yeah.
Danger, playing time, other factors, not a surprise.
He's where he should, and he's going to play tons of minutes in Memphis. So.
Yeah, Danger was never going to be like the starting 5 playing 30 minutes a game here. It was never happening.
Not in Brad Underwood's offense.
Harris and Hansberry followed Chester, and if you don't see that now, I mean, what else do you want to see? Unless they both enter the portal again, which I don't think that's going to happen.
They
Goody,
might after this year, and they don't play, or they average 4 minutes a game.
There's no way those guys went to West Virginia thinking they would both start and play 30 minutes a game.
Right. I would agree with that. I mean,
West Virginia
had a roster to build themselves. So
Weirdy knows Sincere cares about development. Makes me think Hansberry, despite what his social media, family might be saying on social media, maybe he does too, because both those guys clearly going to follow Chester so they can develop more.
Right.
Goody graduated, thought maybe there's a chance he'd come back, but he goes closer to home. And then Moretti, I think he's going to go down a level, maybe even go back to Europe and play.
Yeah.
So I think he'd be smart to go down to like the West Coast Conference or Santa Clara, maybe.
Yeah, Santa Clara
Conference. But like maybe even the Mountain West, he could find a home. I just think that it makes sense for him. And I think if DGL was going to be loyal and stay and try to develop here, I don't think it would have made sense. I know that Moretti's a point guard. DGL is more of like a, combo.
Combo guard.
2-ish, a little small for it. But, Moretti could have had another year here to try to develop. But, like, with the portal world, who's to say that he would have been like a starting point guard here ever? Like, right. I don't know.
Right.
And maybe he goes back to Europe. Maybe he eventually somehow finds his way to the NBA. As like a bench guard who has a decent career. There's a lot of guys that have been similar skills, playmaking, and size that have figured out and carved out careers in the NBA. I mean, Zachary Perrin, another Jeff Alexander guy, looks like he might get drafted. He's in the draft, right? So
yeah, Perrin. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. Jeffrey, what's up? Ronnie, what's up? Jeffrey says, kind of worried. We got a team of shooters now. Is the ball going to be going up too often now? Not enough shots to go around, kind of thing. I don't think this team has a Damask type guy who's going to be handling the ball and trying to make shots at this point. But I mean, Brad's whole thing since he's been here is he wants a shot up in 7 seconds. So, I mean, Brad's doing what he wants to do, and you either like it or you hate it as an Illinois fan. So, Jay says, don't think I'll be crying in my Cheerios with the dudes who left. Jeff says, I think it's more people just don't like the NIL all-star team feel to college basketball now. Yeah, we want to win. Just the game has lost something now. It feels too much money and not tradition. And I understand those statements, and I get it. I mean, I think it took the purity a little bit out of college basketball, but you can't tell me that these guys that work their asses off and do all that shouldn't be getting paid. So it's a double-edged sword, and it is what it is at this point.
I think
it's going to be a glorified.
The NCAA,
yeah, go ahead.
The NCAA's fault. I mean, in a lot of respects,
they implemented it without without fully fleshing it out. Is what is the problem.
And maybe they'll figure it out in the next few years. I wouldn't count on it, but you never know. But when it becomes the way that it is now, you have to have a coach who can adapt to it. And I think that Brad and his staff have done a pretty good job of adapting to it and making sure that, they can still bring in a lot of talent. I think that there's probably a lot of people that root for this program that are still concerned with like development and freshmen and stuff, which I think there's reasons to be in some respects, but I think that we need to put a lot more emphasis and focus on bringing in guys from the portal. And I think, you look at the additions, that most of them are guys that have years left.
Yeah.
How long that happens. I think there's a couple of them, or at least one of them, that could be maybe here for 1 year and then gone because of the draft. That'd be Booth would be my guess on that one. If he plays enough and can develop, he's been looked at as an NBA prospect. And guess what? I think one thing that they're doing really well is the fact they're bringing in NBA type talent. Like, it's not elite NBA type talent, but there's several guys that have been brought in that could eventually work their way up into being drafted. And I think that's a great thing considering, Illinois had one guy drafted from like 2010 to 2020. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Myers Leonard.
Yeah.
So unless I'm missing somebody, I mean, that's brutal.
Yeah. Yep. Wes says, just joined, but the people who are saying Illinois has a problem with retention and too many transfers aren't paying attention to the reasons or players that are drives me crazy. I mean, every school is going through this right now.
There's a bunch of programs that are way worse off than Illinois is with this stuff. I mean, way worse off. Illinois didn't sit there and lose like stars with multiple years of eligibility. We're not losing those types of players. You're losing role guys. You're losing freshmen. You're losing guys that want to go somewhere and get more playing time. Like, Illinois does not have that NIL problem that we're seeing at like Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota, I don't think Cam Christie's going to go anywhere else. I think he's going to enter the draft. But Minnesota also Minnesota lost a point guard who was averaging like 8 assists per game who said he was going to stay. Like, Minnesota is an example of a Big Ten school that has an NIL problem that's losing very valuable players. Illinois does not have that problem. The bottom line is this. Illinois is losing younger players who want to get more playing time elsewhere. They're losing grad transfers, and they're losing role players that maybe want to try to expand their role elsewhere. They're not losing these Terrence Shannon types. So that's the least of the concerns, in my opinion, on the program right now is retention. I don't think there's any real issue there. And if there is, it would be because like the team had a really bad season or Brad left or something. So I don't think that's a concern at all. I think people who are focusing on that as a concern is just like, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, I don't like. Indiana, like Woodson's getting praise over everything he's doing at Indiana, bringing guys in, and Brad's just getting shit on, it seems like. So it is what it is. Ronnie says you have to build the best team possible. If you don't use every weapon, 6 or 7 wins in the Big Ten won't get you to the tournament. Jay says, I could see this portal transfer NIL thing going to like 2-year contracts or possibly buyouts for players if they want to go elsewhere. That's probably where it needs to be. I mean, you need to lock these guys in. The other problem with that is, though, say you bring a freshman in and he's not working out, like, does Illinois just cut ties with him? Or, you know, you get into a contract where, you know, you don't want a guy or something. It's just a sticky situation. So smaller schools are at a huge disadvantage which kind of pollutes the game and the underdog feel to the game. They're still underdogs, though.
Yeah, I don't know if I fully agree with that. I think there's something to it, but also look at some of the talent that some of these teams are getting for, you know, if a player's not working out at, you know, Kansas State or something, and they're going down a level and you're getting a bunch more. Like the portal itself, without the NIL, I think has helped the smaller schools. Like look at the talent, and you have to have a really good coach at the smaller school to make it work. Like look at what the talent that Will Wade's gotten at McNeese the last 2 years. Like that's the opposite of the smaller schools being a disadvantage with the amount of talent they've got. And then you look at schools like, you know, Grand Canyon or Samford or like just these schools getting different levels of talent that they could never get before without the portal. And I think that that's a big deal for some of these schools. I should say without the portal being where it's at now, where there's so many more players in it. Because obviously the portal has always existed and going down a level has always existed, but it's so much different now. And I don't think the tournament has really suffered that much from it. I mean, look at what our Final Four was in 2023. Yeah. And look at some of the upsets we still have. Like, you know, obviously we had there's a 13-4 in 2020, whatever year that was. The Furman over Virginia. You had Kentucky lose to Oakland. I mean, it hasn't really affected the tournament too much. I don't know if it ever will, but maybe. I just think that's the way the tournament is set up makes it easier for, you know, the NIL spending teams aren't automatic. They aren't guaranteed anything. So I think if they start messing with the tournament, then we're in real trouble.
Yeah. Sorry. Everything going on all at once. Yeah. So on top of everything, Coleman Hawkins has put his name in the portal. After Illinois Twitter went crazy about losing everybody, they thought that this was a great business decision by Coleman to go into the portal. So, Illinois fans for you. He tweeted after the announcement broke. Some people broke it before he ever said anything. His tweet basically said, relax, LOL. And then it followed a big statement from him, said he's 100% committed to the NBA draft and, quote, Illinois will always be home. Apparently has a no contact next to his name in the portal. Ked Prince broke yesterday that he might go to the SEC, which followed by Coleman showing a screenshot of him clowning on some Kentucky people. And then he basically tweeted back and said, who told you this or something. Those tweets have both been deleted by Coleman. But he is going to have an interview with Goodbloom tomorrow. 46 minutes uncut. Raw is what they're calling it, or something like that. So be interesting to see what he says during that. But yeah, Coleman's going in the portal. It makes sense because of the deadline for NBA guys now, or guys that want to test the NBA waters. May 1st, we were wrong about that. I know somebody was asking in the comments last episode. Apparently, when they changed it, you can transfer whenever you want, as many times as you want. It also said that the deadline for even grad students is May 1st. So that's why you see a lot more guys coming in. A lot of guys that are in the NBA draft announced already. They can't do like what Cam Spencer did last year and announce in July or whatever that he's going to go play basketball at UConn. So that is the main reason why these guys are all putting their name. I mean, again, it makes sense to me that he does it. It is what it is. If you go somewhere else,
he's
I'm
protecting
not going to
himself.
complain. Right? Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing.
And
basically
Cam
no
Smith said
leverage.
that was a good decision.
Yeah, but basically he would, if he decides he doesn't want to be in the NBA, his only option would have been to come back to Illinois with basically no leverage. I don't think Illinois would screw him and not give him NIL money, which people are kind of saying. But I could see where he just goes to the highest bidder too. I mean, if he's going to come back and not go to the NBA, I think he's going to try to make as much money as he can. So
I hope he goes to the NBA.
I hope he does too. It sounds like just the little snippet of the thing from Good Bloom is that he would not go inside the Big Ten. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Where would you want to see him? What if he went to North Carolina?
I'd be fine with that. I actually would love that. I have a buddy that's a North Carolina fan, and I would like to see how much he enjoys Coleman Hawkins play.
What if he goes to UConn?
I think that he
is
going to be 6 man at UConn.
Yeah.
We're still dealing with COVID players. Yeah, I think this is the last year.
Thank God. No, that's a good thing. I bet, you know what, right now I'll say this. If Coleman does end up going back to college and go somewhere else, I do think North Carolina is the number one favorite for that as of right now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm being told. So,
yeah. 247 has him ranked as the number 23 ranked person in the portal. I think that's a fair assessment of Coleman Hawkins' skill set.
I mean, statistically, it's not like he put up monster numbers, and there's guys in the portal that did.
So do you think if you're 23 in the portal, you have any shot of getting drafted?
Yeah, I don't think that those things matter at all.
Correlate? Gotcha.
Because it's like the portal rankings are so all over the place, and there's so much more that like matters with that rather than the rankings, these stupid rankings. I do want to see who's ahead of him, though, according to them. Why can't I find player rankings? I can never find the player rankings. Why is it so hard?
I don't know.
Here we go. All right. So number 1 is Kadari Richmond, who, by the way, listed as a point guard, so it's probably not happening in Illinois. Would be cool, though. Yeah, okay. The big from Oklahoma State, who's going to Kentucky's ahead of him. Dylan Mitchell, who's an NBA guy, possibly. Tyrese Hunter. Adu. I don't know if Cliff should be 10 spots ahead of him, but all right. There's a lot of like number 1s and 2s on this list. I don't know if Coleman is a 1 or a 2 on a college team.
Oh, gotcha.
Like scoring wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are speculating that if Brad doesn't pick up a true 5, that he wouldn't come back to Illinois because he doesn't want to guard the 5s anymore. So we'll see. Jay says, agree the portal will definitely help smaller schools. High 3-star or low 4-star players will probably end up. And a lot of these smaller universities don't think that happens without the portal. I agree. I think they should put a cap on NIL for all teams. That would help even the playing field. It'd be interesting where you would make a cap, though, because some of these smaller schools probably have, I don't know, $100,000, if that, to throw at everybody. So
that has disaster written all over it.
I don't know how it would even it unless you made it low enough that it affected everybody, right? So, I mean,
yeah, you can't have every school. You can't have every school capped out at a certain number, the same number. I just think that's dumb.
Mm-hmm. Yep, but yeah, so we'll see what happens with Coleman. What are your percentages that he's back in an Illini jersey next year?
6.
And do you want him 6% out of 100 or
Yeah.
6 out of 10?
6% out of 100.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
No shot.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'd take him back if he wants to come back. I just think that Illinois does need a bigger body at the 5. Like, even if it's not a starter, it's somebody who would embrace being like a big body 5 that can come in and guard the 5. Somebody who's not there to like expecting to score a bunch of points and stuff. I think they need that because I don't think you're going to be asking the current personnel that they have right now to play the 5 and guard the 5. I don't think Booth is going to do that. So that's got to be one of the 2 big priorities, I would say, right now for filling out the rest of this roster. Yeah. When will we see the benefits from Orlando's recruiting now that we get everyone from the portal? I don't know. I don't know if there's not the advantage of having good recruiters like TA and OA, as they call them. I don't know if that's as great anymore. I know Goodman put out a tweet on that yesterday about.
Yeah.
I mean, it matters when you have more NIL. It helps, but who knows? Like, I think one thing that Goodman maybe be missing on there is evaluating talent and evaluating fits is still a big part of being a good recruiter or coach. I think he's kind of trying to be a little too, hey, give me some numbers in this tweet because everybody agrees with me. Like, I think there's a lot more to it than just the NIL.
Yeah.
Like, look at Kansas last year. Like, they got Dickinson, brought back McCullough, brought back all the other guys, and they just didn't have any depth, and they just weren't very good.
Are you surprised that Antigua hasn't been able to bring anybody from Kentucky with him?
I don't think the door's closed on it yet, but no, I don't think so. I think a lot of those guys were probably expecting to either maybe stay in the SEC or go to another blue blood or go to Arkansas. So I don't know. I don't think the Wagner thing's going to happen. I don't think the Onyenso thing's going to happen. By the way, if AJ DeBansa comes to Illinois, that would be one of the greatest. That would be the greatest recruit in the history of the program by like a billion miles. That guy might be too good to play in college for a year, honestly.
Yeah. Ben looks more capable of playing the 5 than Coleman. Hey, great segue for us here. Big Hummer commits to Illinois. By the way, I'm calling this guy Big Hummer forever. I don't care if you like it or not.
He's probably going to suck because of how lame that is.
What do you mean? A great nickname.
If nobody knows what we're talking about Evansville transfer Ben Humrichous, who, by the way, I really like in terms of some of the things I've read and watched on him. I think there's
Joe Jackson, your buddy, had a nice breakdown of him. So go follow him on Twitter. I think we've told people to do that before, but he did sign right before we went live. Brad said, quote, he is an elite shooter at 6'9", can shoot off the dribble, off screens, pick and pops, and play in post-ups and isolations. New booty ball guy, I assume. Will we be seeing a Damask-esque game from the Big Hummer? No? Really?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we'll see some of it. It's not going to be the same, though, at all, I don't think.
Yeah. Really good in the pick and pops, I noticed. I don't know. His athleticism is the only thing that worries me, and his defense, but shooting wise, fantastic.
Yeah, definitely not a plus defender, but I don't think not terrible. I think his defensive rating last season was just over 100, which that's not great. But his offensive rating was in the 120s, I believe. He played 3 years of NAIA ball before going to Evansville last season. I think he's a potential NBA guy. I think he might have been drafted this year based on if he tested well and stuff. I think he would have been pretty close. Really good shot release. I think that's the big part is the quick release and scores in a number of different ways. I think it was Bardo who said he scores 50% from 2, 50% from 3 in terms of point distribution. Last year at Evansville, 14.7 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 48, 41, 75 shooting splits, 61.3% true shooting percentage, which is way up from his years in the NAIA. Had a 28-point game with 5 threes against Chattanooga, 18 points on 2 of 3 3-point shooting against Drake, and then had a 20-point, 6 rebound, 6 assist game against University of Illinois Chicago. So, and I found this article from Maxwell Baumbach from No Ceilings NBA. He has a Substack. This is a really interesting thing that I think he brought up. Over the past 10 college basketball seasons, only 4 players have met the following thresholds: 6'8" or taller, assist to turnover ratio of 1.5, 55% on twos, 40% on threes while taking 9 or more per 100 possessions, and a BPM of 5.5 or above. Those other players on top of Humrichous are Sam Hauser, 2021 Virginia, he's in the NBA. Cam Johnson, 2019 North Carolina, he's in the NBA. Trey Murphy III, 2021 Virginia, he's in the NBA. And Duncan Robinson, 2017 Michigan, he's in the NBA. So a lot of good traits here, a lot of good numbers, a lot of good things to like about Humrichous and his game. So I think that probably qualifies him as the best and most ready transfer addition so far of the 5.
Yeah, you think this is the best pickup?
Yeah, for next season. Yeah, definitely. I don't know about long term because he's a grad transfer, so 1 year.
Right.
But I think he'll have a similar impact at Damask, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. They needed to do something. This was talked about for it was probably a week ago. And then finally, he put the announcement out yesterday. So yesterday that it was announced
2 days ago.
2 days ago. Okay. But over the weekend, people were already saying that was happening. So, yeah, this is a great ad. Needed a guy like this, I think. So, looking forward to it. But
if Illinois is trading one player from the state of Indiana for another, Humrichous is better than Luke Goody. So, he went to Huntington NAIA school, home state of Indiana. No Ceilings NBA, Maxwell Baumbach said, quote, when he was there, he steadily improved his overall game, which makes sense given that he made basketball his sport of primary focus later in life. After his junior season, he entered the transfer portal. His comfort level with the Evansville staff earned them his commitment. Despite scaling up in competition, Humrichous has been more productive than ever as a scorer while increasing his efficiency. He attributes this leap to the diligent nature of his training process and his faith, which if you look at his Twitter, that sounds about right. He's shooting a lot of threes. I mean, the fact that he shot 9.8 triples per 100 possessions and shot over 40%.
Yeah, he averaged 5.3 a game.
Yeah, he's got a good release. Like maybe the best looking natural shot of an Illini 3-point shooter in a while, I would say. Because I don't think obviously Goody's good at it. Fine. Plummer was a little bit more of a unique form, but just it looks very natural for Humrichous. So, but there's definitely a lot of, I'm never saying that nickname. There's definitely a lot of NBA type traits here, and I think that's maybe the most important thing with him.
He's a better Coleman on offense.
Well, if you looked at his profile at all, Jeffrey, you know that he's literally nothing like Coleman in the way that he plays. But sure thing, yeah. It's like the third time he's tried to compare him to Coleman. It just doesn't make any sense.
What about Dumask 2.0?
No, I think we need to look at this as a different. I think we need to compare him more to the guys of the profile that he matched. I don't think he's quite the level of a Trey Murphy or a Duncan Robinson or a Cam Johnson or maybe a Sam Hauser, but I think he's like more similar to those guys than anybody Illinois had in the last few years. And the fact that he went to Evansville, I mean, shout out to Evansville for being able to get a guy like this, because that's kind of crazy if you look at what that program's been for the last 10 years. They were a real disaster a few years ago, but the Missouri Valley continues to have that Big Ten pipeline.
Yeah. You didn't put the schedule on here.
Yeah, that was a thing that you just have a screenshot to look at. I mean, how hard is that? Illinois' schedule is announced. They have 3 opponents that they're going to play twice this season. In terms of the draw, I don't think it's the best draw, but I don't think it's too bad. Their home opponents this season will be Iowa, Maryland, Ohio State, Penn State, Purdue, UCLA and USC, so they won't be going to California this season. Then they're away-only opponents, so they go to Indiana, of course. They go to Michigan. They go to Minnesota. They go to Nebraska. They go to Oregon. They go to Rutgers. They go to Washington. So home or away a little bit more difficult. You got to go to Indiana. You got to go to Michigan. You got to go to Rutgers. Not that I made fun of our good friend White Boy Rick for being afraid to go to Rutgers, but it was all in good fun. And then they got to go to Oregon. I think the Oregon and Washington games will probably be in the same week, right? Based on the sounds of what they're doing with the schedule.
I mean, that would make sense, right?
I don't know if they confirm that that's how they're going to do it or not, but the home and away opponents are Michigan State, Northwestern, and Wisconsin. So I think the only way that could have been a little bit better for Illinois was probably Northwestern, Wisconsin, and like Penn State or something if they didn't have to play in the 5,000 seat arena.
Yeah, if I'm incorrect, somebody can change this, but this is supposed to be like every year is the home and the way. Like I don't want to call it a rival, but it's like guaranteed. Like we're going to play Northwestern and Wisconsin every year. I don't know about Michigan State.
Probably play Iowa next year twice or something. Or Indiana.
Yeah, but
no Mackey Arena. That's good, I think.
Yeah.
Not having to go to California. It doesn't really matter since you have to go to Oregon and Washington, but you don't have to play in front of the 13 fans that go to UCLA games. Who knows if they'll even have a campus by the time this game comes around. You got to go to Nebraska. That's going to be tough. I saw Rink Mass is out for the season with the knee surgery and is going to be taking a red shirt. He'll be 30 years old when he plays in 2025, 26.
See that one guy's back for his 9th season?
I don't think he didn't take – he had the opportunity to come back.
Oh, I saw yesterday that he was, but
I don't think he is. Unless I read that wrong. I'm pretty sure Goodbloom said he's not.
Get ready for that 10 p.m. tip-off on a Thursday night from Eugene.
Kind of excited about it. Yeah, Seth Towns not coming back. It's tough, though.
He's not. Okay.
1 year of eligibility left. I believe John Thompson III or whatever was still coaching when he started.
Yeah.
Georgetown, maybe. Before Ewing, I guess, but yeah.
Jay says fans need to lower their expectations on what Orlando can get. He is a great recruiter and got good players here previously. Nothing like he always got in Kentucky. That school recruits itself. It's not recruiting itself very well right now.
I don't even think they're trying to, though.
Mid-Tucky is what I've seen posted by the one and only Ant Wright.
I really, really don't like that roster, but who knows?
Yeah.
It's weird, though, to look at, just like thinking, oh, this is Kentucky. They have a transfer from Drexel starting. It's just weird.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody, but...
And with this, Sky Clark gets to come back, right? He's at UCLA now, right?
Yep. Very exciting. By the way,
good stuff.
I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world for Illinois to possibly get the number one player in the 2025 class. By the way, I'm just throwing that out there because you know who got the number one player in last year's class?
Rutgers,
USC.
Oh yeah,
2023 class. Like, what is that? And the number one player in this class, by the way, is Duke. But 2 and 3 are Rutgers.
Oh yeah, what's his face?
Cooper Flag. Yeah, it's not the crazy. Like USC got the number. Andy Infield got the number one player and LeBron James' son. Like, if USC can do it, we can do it.
It's true. It's true.
They have the Must Bus now, though, so they're in good hands. We got Must Bus coming to Champaign. We got Cronin and Sky Clark coming to Champaign. We get to play on Oregon's new court.
Yeah.
The football team and basketball team both have to go to Oregon. I think it's going to be a reverse slaughter. I think the Illini football team is going to get maybe mercy ruled by the Oregon football team. And then I think that Illinois, even though Oregon's going to be pretty good this year, I think, in basketball, but I think Illinois will take care of them.
I think you told the fans that we'd be in Oregon too.
That's up to you at this point. I mean, it's ball's in your court. I'm ready.
You're gonna need some more sponsorships.
There has to be a company out there or somebody that listens to us that is high enough in a company to sponsor a trip for us to go to Eugene for the.
They got a private jet or something that we can take.
I guess we'll go to the basketball game now, even though I'd rather go to the football game. But I guess we have a priority or something.
Yeah, or something.
We could have both. We don't need
Yeah,
a private jet. We just need somebody to give us like $5,000.
we can just
and then we'll go.
drive to Oregon. How about that? Like 24-hour drive. Sounds
Aren't
like
you
fun.
high enough? Aren't you high enough up in a business to sponsor this thing?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, well,
Gotta
we'll
get
figure it out. We'll be there.
busier. You have what does the staff want next?
Big
I think
question.
everybody kind of knows what Illinois needs at this point, right?
I think they need a 2-guard or another guard to put next to Boswell.
Yep.
And then they need some sort of big man who can guard the 5 or play like like a what was his name? Early Underwood player. I don't think he might have been an Underwood transfer. The big fellow, what was his name?
Nana Egwu?
No. Adonis De La Rosa.
Oh.
Need him.
That's a name.
Well, just like, a bigger center to play some
center. Abor.
He's in the portal, yeah. They need like a 7-foot, 260-pound guy like De La Rosa without the knee issues who can come in and play guard the 5. Akor is from
Akor. I knew it was something like that.
He's from Samford. 16-6-1 last season. 6'9", 227. I mean, if he can guard the 5, great. But like they already have so many guys that are like 6'8" or 6'9" and 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8",
Yeah. Apparently Brad flew to some foreign country to look at a 7-footer. It was.
Are we Purdue now?
I don't know. Ryan Evan posts about it. He apparently texts this kid's mom that lives in some country that doesn't speak English, and said that Illinois was there watching him. I don't want to get into it too much, but that's what I know. 7-footer plays like a point guard though.
Looking at my notebook here that I have in front of me, and I wrote this down when we did the preseason podcast for the countdown, and John Rothstein did not have Illinois in his top 45 going into the season.
Last year?
Yeah. Oh, no, they're 20th. Okay, never mind. I spilled water on it. I couldn't see it.
Somewhere.
Okay, 20th, sorry. I spilled water on it, but he had FAU 5th. I just thought it was funny to look at.
Yeah. Where did I get that story? From Ryan Evan. I just said that.
Yeah, check him out. Follow him on Twitter, guys.
Yeah, sure. They have a Discord with that big huddle or whatever he joined.
Yeah,
might have slid in there to see what they were talking about. So.
There's a chance I did that too.
Yeah. So, what was the kid's name?
Adonis De La Rosa.
Sounds right. Eastern European centers. Yeah, he's a 7-footer that plays like a wing, basically. So. Yeah,
wouldn't be a bad place to find some talent. I don't know. I don't know if Illinois has like another big get left in them. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel pretty good about where the roster's at. Obviously, there's a couple of holes that need to be filled, but I really, really wonder like what the Kerry Booth role is going to be. Like, what is he expected to be, and what is it going to be? I think that's a big wonder.
This is my thing. Is like, do you think Big Hummer's okay coming here guarding 5s? Because I don't think Booth wants to guard a 5. He doesn't want to get beat up night after night. Brad doesn't want a traditional 5.
Yeah, I think they have to change up their defense a little bit on 5s. But at least, I mean, Big Hummer, as you called him.
Yes.
I've never called him that, or I never will after that. But as you called him that, I'll give you one here. He's got a bit of a bigger.
He's big bodied,
a little bit bigger than Coleman, so that could be. I don't know. I don't think we can sit here and expect Merez or Booth to guard the 5 every night. I don't know, especially since the Big Ten has so many 7-footers now.
Yeah.
Or again, I mean, Michigan's gonna be a little bit hard to figure out. We only got to play them once. That's the thing. It's like you're playing most of these teams once now, so it's a little different.
If Merez was 6'11", yeah. I don't know,
He could be when he gets here.
The thing about Coleman is he doesn't want to guard the 5 either. So
it just doesn't. Yeah, I think Coleman probably wouldn't have entered the portal at all if he had a good set role that he knew he could come back to Illinois.
Yeah.
Yep. But that's where we're at. I mean, I don't know. The roster, there's plenty of talent. I'll be curious to see how they put it together. I think that this team's going to be big again after after Boswell and whoever they get at the 2. Like, this is a large roster. I think you could almost get away with some of the undersized guard stuff that maybe they couldn't have gotten away with in 2022 because they had Plummer, Frazier, DeMonte were all pretty undersized, and Grandison wasn't gigantic. So, you got Booth, you got Davis, you got White, you got Merez, you got Humrichous. So, yeah, that's a little bit of a concern. I don't know how much. What can you do if you have that many tall players starting? Like,
I don't know. Run a 2-3 zone.
Yeah,
all 3 of them can't guard.
Brad might change his defense this year. Brad might completely change the defensive philosophy this year. That would not be the most surprising thing with the way they're building this roster. It doesn't seem like they're building it in a way where they think that they can just either switch on defense or just guard 5 up,
Right.
Ty being good defensively this year is going to be important. Trey White being able to guard will be important. Merez and Booth, how they can develop defensively will be big. Boswell, if he can kind of embrace a bit more of a defensive role when he's guarding the other team's 1. But I mean, if Brad's never the last 3 years hasn't really given us a reason to doubt what they're going to do, so
yeah,
hopefully it works.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
Grad transfer point guard. That's another thing. Wouldn't be surprised if they add some sort of other point guard to the roster just to have one.
Yeah, because right now,
don't have one after Boswell,
DGL is starting.
Like, if they work with DGL this summer to improve his playmaking skills, he could be a point guard.
Yeah.
He's got the right frame for it. He's really athletic. That's the thing with him is he's only 6'2", but he's also super athletic. Like, he has the athleticism that takes away some of the other issues.
Yeah. All right. I got to go to the bathroom. Let's wrap this up.
Good. I didn't want to be here anyway. All right. Yeah, we'll be back, I guess, the next time something of importance happens. I clicked it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As always, we want to thank the Alamo Steakhouse and Saloon in Mattoon, Illinois. They got their May specials up. They do have a Mother's Day special, filet Oscar on Mother's Day, 5/12, May 12th. It's an 8-ounce filet mignon topped with jumbo crab meat and a hollandaise sauce. So go enjoy Mother's Day at the Alamo Steakhouse and Saloon. As always, subscribe, like, turn on notifications. We appreciate you all. And we will probably be back in a week.
Yeah, a couple weeks or less. We'll see. But we'll see you the next time. Goodbye.